podcast, where we help you build a thriving private practice you absolutely love. We want you to have all the tools that it takes to support your clients, to do the operations, the marketing, the finances, all of that. And we want you to love it. We want you to feel like this is the contribution that I want to make in the world. These are the clients I want to see. This is the group practice I want. This is the specialty that I want to make a effective impact within. We want to have all of it. And we do that through a number of different ways. We do that through this podcast. We have our membership community, the Practice Academy. We have one-on-one consulting, and we have our group practice conference, which is right around the corner, May 4th and 5th, 2026, here in Traverse City, Michigan. So that's a TED Talk style where we have 20-minute talks on the main stage, and then about a third of the time is spent networking, connecting, having deeper conversations throughout a gigantic art gallery. And so we help facilitate some of that, and also we want it to happen organically. So we even tell people from the stage right at the beginning, hey, if you're having a great conversation with someone during a break, keep that going. You don't have to hurry back to the main stage. We want you to be able to connect with other people. That's the best part of in-person conferences, in my opinion, is the actual person-to-person connection. And we try to really facilitate that at the group practice conference. So make sure you grab your tickets if they're still open. At the time of this recording, there's some left. I'm not sure when it goes live if we'll still have tickets, but check that out over at practiceofthepractice.com/conference. Well, I am so excited to have Joe Agar. I didn't ask how to say your last name, so I
Agarwal.
want to make sure I say it correctly, and we'll edit this out, obviously. Say your last name for me, please.
Agarwal.
Agoro.
Agarwal. It's an,
Agowal.
yep, that's
Okay.
it.
Today, we have Joe Agowal on the show. Joe is the co founder and chief executive officer of WISA, one of the world's most widely used AI enabled mental health platforms. Under her leadership, WISA has supported millions of users across more than 90 countries and works with major employers, insurers, and health systems to deliver evidence based mental health support at scale. With a background in clinical psychology and product innovation, Joe leads a multidisciplinary organization spanning engineering, clinical science, ethics, and enterprise partnerships, focusing on expanding access to care while preserving clinical integrity and trust. Joe, welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Thank you. Lovely to be here, Joe.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. This topic of AI, mental health, like no matter what, interview I'm doing, I swear AI gets peppered in there somewhere.
Yes.
Um, So let's just start with probably the biggest concern that people just start right at the biggest concern that most therapists have. I'm going to be replaced by AI, and any support of AI puts me out of a job sometime in the future. What do you say to that?
I mean, people are losing connection with other human beings. You talked about that. And if people could heal themselves with technology only, then we wouldn't be facing the mental health crisis that we have. I mean, COVID reduced our connections with other human beings, and that created the largest wave of burnout amongst all of us. So we do know how important it is to have a human being. I do think that most therapists um, will see AI both as something that pushes them to be better at what they do. I think good therapists will be even more in demand. Um, Therapists who are not as good today could become better therapists because of AI, um, because they want to. And those who are sort of coasting may be replaced by AI. But then, if you're being replaced by AI, you really need to think whether you're in the right profession.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I think going back to the human connection, that if people wanted just information, they wouldn't come to an in-person conference. Like
Yeah.
the biggest thing is connecting with people. We host something here at our house we jokingly call Firefest every winter, where we have 3 or 4 campfires. We order a bunch of pizza, and we just invite everyone we know. And it's just a chance for people to connect and talk and meet new people. And it's one of those things that now every year people are like, when's Firefest? When's Firefest? And every winter we host it. And it's like that's not going to be replaced by AI. That face-to-face interaction. I want to hear when you look at kind of big picture tools that therapists are developing, or how AI is helping enhance the therapeutic experience rather than replace it. How are you seeing it be enhanced as a result of AI being incorporated into therapy?
We're so we started out Wiser with the aim of solving for mental health. And it was never to replace a therapist, it was to solve what we couldn't do with all the psychiatrists and all the therapists in the world. So I've explored a lot of different, over the last 10 years, we started this. I've explored a lot of different uses of AI, and never more so than in the last year when LLMs have truly come onto their own. So
Well, and
far,
let's
I've got this
define what that means because some people may not be familiar with that term. Define what LAM is.
LLMs,
Hmm.
the large language models, ChatGPT and Gemini, and everything that you've been using for probably not all the ways that you could be using. So these are, AI has been around forever, but it's when it started being able to process our language that we felt that we could really communicate with it. And it
Mm.
really says something about what we call intelligence, that we only started thinking it was intelligent when it was language intelligent and not just visual.
Mm.
Or Google Maps was very intelligent, and um, you know we had supercomputers that were super intelligent, but we thought it was intelligent when it could talk to us. And
Mm.
that's LLMs.
All right. So just making sure people as they're listening are not like, oh, what does that mean? So as you think about those tools that enhance therapy, like what are you seeing get developed and how therapists are using it, how large systems are using it? Yeah.
I think the first tool that every therapist loves is a scribing tool,
Mm.
something that can take notes and generate case notes automatically. Like, that is the one thing. You finish a session and you have to get into another session, and you want to take that time for yourself. You don't want to spend it documenting and so on and so forth. So anything that takes away from the sort of, you've done a great job, but you can't capture it, or you're not able to do a great job because the intake takes such a long time. The person's not opening up. Now, we know that people are 3 times more likely from research to open up to AI than they are to a therapist. So,
Mm.
why not get them to talk about some of the things that you want to get coming into the session,
Mhm.
and then use that to inform the session really well. So, intake, sort of referral assistance, checking in with them between sessions, getting them to create their micro narratives in the right way, so that it's not just a set of questions or an assessment, but actually, depending on what they've said, it can ask more and more until it's got enough for you to do your job when you actually see
Mm.
them in session. And then when you want to give them homework and you want to give them psychoeducation, now those are again things that are quite canned. You could have sent them a video, you could actually get them to practice it. A lot of learning, and I come from a learning design background, and a lot of learning doesn't work because the other person doesn't feel heard. Now, therapy was one of the few places where we could make somebody feel heard reliably. AI is another. You can
Mm.
reliably make a person feel heard.
Mm.
What you choose to do with it, it's a power, and what you choose to do with it is what matters. If we can get them to build skills in therapeutic techniques, if we see ourselves as not, not just treatment and diagnosis, but skilling people, then there's a large role that AI plays in helping people have that place to practice, helping people get that 3 a.m. support. And beyond all of this, making sure your hours are billable, making sure that you're, using the exact number of times. There are codes now, like RTM codes, which you can use AI to uh, get people to use, and then you can build more codes. It's becoming harder and harder to make a therapy practice profitable with so many cuts that are happening. So across all of these, I see AI playing a role.
Yeah, it's like I think where a lot of therapists that I work with get stuck is they hear, oh yeah, you can have your AI do between session support. It can help with RTM codes. It can help with, enhanced billing. And then they're like, but how do I do that? How do I get the AI to do it rather than me just copy and paste something into a text to a client? Are there tools that you've found that therapists really use to automate more of that so they're not having to build a lot of these things from scratch with, say, like Chat GPT bots?
Absolutely. So WISA has a co-pilot that we offer, which therapists plug into and they can use. We also build. We also integrate with other systems. So Wisa's own tools provide it between session support, the
Mm.
patient-facing app, which integrates with a co-pilot. So a therapist, our own therapists, in fact, can tend to go in and between sessions they would assign homework. And as soon as they assign a homework to a person, their app then shows up with that homework, and it will take all of the summary between that and go back and say that to the therapist.
Mm.
We work with the National Health Service in the UK, where um, about a third of the UK's therapy services actually will use a WISA intake summary. So there'll be a digital referral assistant. It will ask a lot of questions, and by the end of it, it would create the right level of triage to say this is the complexity level of the person, and that might mean that the person needs a certain level of therapist within your service,
Mhm.
and or this specialization of therapists. So you match people to the right type of person. Um, but all of those are services that we provide. And then, of course, there are others that, like, we don't do the scribe service in house, but there are those that we can recommend being better than others. And that's,
Mhm.
you get into the community of other therapists. And, there's a great community of therapists in tech who are therapists who are very tech sensitive. And I'm sure others that Joe, who are great for recommending the tools that are in.
Yeah. Oh, so I think where a lot of, and I know you get this question a lot, a lot of folks go is in big business, data is power, data is money, data is corruption. There's all sorts of things that go with it. Um, with how are you thinking through all of this data that's coming in about people's sensitive mental health needs, worries, homework, all that goes back and forth between a therapist and a client? How do you think through confidentiality, data management, security, just protecting that integrity of a therapeutic relationship?
I think I'll take that question in two parts. One is the therapeutic relationship, and another is the safety. And the safety and privacy aspect of it is perhaps people are worried in my mind about the wrong thing. The biggest thing to worry about when you're using general purpose AI is not whether they're going to store their data, your data, or use it to train their models. There are subscriptions that you can do. You can turn off settings so that they cannot use your data to train their models, and they cannot keep your data beyond 24 hours. So that's possible. However, the problem with general purpose AI and why we think purpose built AI like Wisa is great is I try to compare, an AI that all of us use well and responsibly. There's a lot of tech we haven't used very responsibly, like social media, but I think Google Maps is a technology we've all used really well. And that's because it's a purpose built technology at the end of a session. It may not be perfect. You've gone for a trip and it might actually give you the wrong guidance. Uh, but you tend to find out after one time that this is where it tends to go wrong. And, I'm going to take the other route this time. But at the end of the trip, it's not like, let's go on another trip. Let's do this. It's not there to keep you engaged. I think the biggest danger of any technology that we use is what's driving it. What is big business being incentivized on? And if they're being
Mm.
incentivized to keep you engaged, then it's going to be the cause of sending patients to the therapist. It's going to build a relationship, all right, but it won't be a therapeutic relationship. A therapeutic relationship ends when the purpose is served and puts the onus back on the user to go back to their life and live in the physical real world and implement whatever they have learned. And that's something that's really, really important for us to ensure the way AI is used, it's sending people back into the real world. So I, I'm actually, even when I'm building new techniques or even giving people prompts on how to work with a ChatGPT or Gemini, not even when they use my bot, the prompts include ways in which you remove its ability to keep you engaged, and it only does what it does.
Yeah, I love that. I think that the idea of it ending when the therapeutic relationship ends and making sure that those security settings are in. Now, we talked a little bit about AI capturing narratives and analyzing before we started recording, and that being an area of excitement for you, of potential. Tell me more about what that means and then the application of it.
Well, the application of AI capturing micro narratives, as I call it, micro narratives are, up until now, you could do surveys, but you had to just say X question, right? And then you could do analysis, and you could only do analysis when you had data in clean boxes. Now, with today's AI, you can have 100,000 micro narratives, little stories that people have given, and that story can be a little different each time. The question I ask you can be different from the question I ask the next person, depending on the answer you gave me. But AI can make sure that the 4 or 5 things that I absolutely need to have are still there. For instance, if you had frontline workers or our behavioral health care professionals, we do collaborative care management. So our behavioral health care managers, when they're working with patients, we can ask them what part of this technique is working, what is not working, why is it not working. And if you had hundreds of thousands of those captures, even when you have large scale frontline worker saying this or a user saying this, then you can analyze it and give voice to people who otherwise would be constrained. So we're trying to do this. In fact, I'm right now in Indian rural areas where there's no access to any therapy, and I'm trying to empower frontline workers to be able to capture these narratives and things like substance abuse. Why did this thing not work in peer support? What works and what doesn't work? And AI is able to analyze these small micro narratives that are happening every day at the end of a session. And that's, for me, real power in giving voice to those who otherwise would never have a voice.
Well, I think you mentioned access as you talk about rural areas that don't have access to therapy. What's the potential you see, and maybe even what are some case studies that you've seen where AI is actually enhancing access for people?
AI has always been able to enhance access. So first, we used to talk about, we don't talk about it as much now, but stigma was a big thing. Where mental health was about, okay, let's get rid of the stigma around mental health. And AI breached that stigma. If you can't get to a therapist, you could actually talk to an AI. Time access, I can't afford it. I don't have insurance coverage. I see AI like a public gym, at least purpose-built AI, something like Wiseth, which is why a part of Wiseth is always free, like a gym in the park. You have to put in the work yourself, but there is a space where you can go and take a walk, and those machines are designed for you to use it. You don't have to have an expensive gym membership. You don't have to have a trainer, but it's there. It increases access to fitness. Now, it's not enough by itself, but for somebody who has nothing else, it's there. And it should ideally exist in the flow of wherever you are, but it should be done safely. So again, with the same analogy, there are people who would cause themselves injury there, but you still put them.
Yeah, yeah, I love that idea of it just like increasing access and allowing people to be able to get access to good mental health. Are there companies, health systems, frontline workers that you've worked with that you can share some stories about kind of applications of AI that you find interesting?
Absolutely. I think first is Wiser, of course. We started with Wiser as a chatbot about, um, I think now 10 years ago, we launched this. So we launched it in 2016. And, within 6 months, we had a 13-year-old girl write to us and say, I tried, um, this was a girl who had suicidal ideation, had even had an attempt, and she said, "I'm depressed and I tried suicide, but you're helping me hold on to myself. Thank you." And we got so scared. We were the parents of a teenager, having founded this company. We got so scared at the thought of this audience starting to use it that we spent the next 10 years making Wiser the safest thing possible. We had a choice of either move away from this age group and just not make it available. And we said, but what will help her hold on to herself? And what if our child was using AI? So, one is this thing that if you have one big insight that we got even then and now, especially, is that whether we think it's a good idea or not, they're going to use it. So, you need to make sure that it's safe. The other big use case that we had And that is again from a wiser journey. Was in the NHS there was a nurse who said this is often for people with autism, for people who are dealing with a disability where they find it hard to look another person in the eye or build a human connection. Often the only thing that works. So we started doubling down on that and saying, how do we test it so that it works with those people? Just use cases, just when you're giving something to a patient and you're giving them access to some support as a therapist, AI can try to meet them where they are in ways that we can't as human beings. Have only so much of that skill. We can't meet them at 3 a.m. We can't be there, when they're just about to go into that meeting. But we can create bits and teach them how to use AI well. So as we teach them how to use breathing or mindfulness, we don't say, oh, once I teach somebody how to do mindfulness and meditation, I don't have a job. So we need to teach them how to use AI as another tool, and then they have a better mental health and we do our job.
Yeah. I don't want to use the term bad players to make it binary, but there are people that have different intent than maybe you have. When it comes to AI, a lot of people I think are scared of different aspects of it. How do we make sure maybe a better word is the healthy players rise to the top, move human consciousness, move human evolution in a way that is helpful to people? And I hate to use the term versus to make it binary, but compared to those that maybe aren't, like, maybe my real question here is like, what scares you about AI?
Okay. I'm very scared of AI. I'm mostly scared of my own intelligence first. I'm scared because we have about 11 million bits of data that our brain can process because it's coming from all our senses. And about 40 bits are what make it to our conscious awareness. And every algo on earth that is trained to engage you is trained to put in front of you those bits that will make it to your conscious awareness. And those are things that make you perceive risk, and those are things that make you achieve your goals, but of a very specific variety, whatever you think your goal is at that time. So if you're looking for red, it will show you more red. That power combined with AI has already been rewiring our brains. It wasn't large language models. Large language models just made us see the artificial intelligence and allowed us to talk to them directly. But it's the invisible AI that is keeping us engaged with our Netflixes and the short form videos, and is quickly evolving how to keep us engaged, and it's rewiring our brains before evolution can catch up. That's what's scary about AI. Our inability to use technology responsibly is what's scary about AI.
What do you do personally to address that in your own life? I mean, does that look like limiting certain social media? Does that mean certain boundaries, certain positive habits, like you mentioned meditation? Like what does it look like for you to have positive mental health, knowing all you know about AI? What boundaries do you put up for yourself? What habits do you have to make sure your brain is affected in the way you want it to be?
This is one thing that I'm battling my own brain's prioritization. So I call it, algo-driven thinking. So that's being a zombie basically, because the algo is in charge or I'm in charge. So self-led. And my practice is that if I can sense the neutral sensation on my arm or my breath on my upper lip, if I can just feel it, even as I'm talking to you, I'm feeling it. That means myself is in charge. And if I'm so engaged that, I'm sucked into that mental world and I'm no longer able to prioritize something that would never make it to my awareness without the algo, without me choosing to do so, then the algo is in charge. And my battle isn't with technology or AI or screens. It's because before there were screens, there were books. Before, there were always things that you would do to escape the world that you're in. I think the battle is And of course, AI is going to make it very, very hard to fight that battle. But as long as I can keep charge of my own awareness and I'm in charge of my free will, and each of us have to fight that battle, it's getting harder and harder to do so because other things are getting better at taking our attention.
Yeah, I love that idea of just thinking about, can I feel part of my arm? Can I feel that breath just on my lip? It's a very micro reminder of I'm here, I'm in charge. And evaluating, is the algorithm in charge or am I? And even just thinking about, when I'm on TikTok, for example, just how much of it is that primal, it's anger, it's sex, it's rage, it's fear, it's the world's falling apart. And all of a sudden I start getting all these prepper things in there, and it's like, I didn't think I was a prepper. And it's like, and then to just step back and say, hold on a second, like, what actually is my own thoughts and what's the algorithm? And when I think about it as you're talking, the things that make me feel healthiest is escaping through reading, escaping through watercolor art, escaping through doing improv comedy with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Just learned a new board game with my daughter yesterday, and right at bedtime, she's like, "Can we play it again?" Because it's like a quick, like there's 1 minute rounds and there's 5 rounds, so it's a quick game, but it's a tangible game that we play. It's like I need to pepper in more of that and say, sure, AI, technology, the algorithm can help in some areas, but I love how you said, kind of, is it me who's bringing this in or is it the algorithm? To me, that's such a great, just quick way to think through some of this stuff. The last question I have, Joe, is if every private practitioner in the world were listening right now, what would you want them to know?
I'd want them to know that they're in charge and they're not under threat. Social media is trying to make them feel that they're under threat to capture their imagination and capture their attention. Um, they need to see what they want to achieve. Do they have a patient that needs help? There are resources who have been crafted safely, like WISA. There are people who are trying to solve the problem. So reach out to us, or even reach out to ChatGPT, or reach out to us and ask us how to use other technologies more responsibly. But you can achieve your goals. And don't get caught up in the hype cycle of it's everything or it's really bad, because that's all but being done just to capture your attention.
Mhm. So awesome. Joe, if people want to connect with Wiza, if they want to connect with you, where can they find out more information? I'll say that again. Joe, if people want to connect with you, if they want to sign up for Wiza, where can they find out more?
Oh, it's joe at wisa.com, that's me, or just wisa.com, and you can just write to us.
Oh, so awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It's shows like this that to me, we go into the corners of private practice to really discuss things that oftentimes you can't get in a blog post, you can't get in a quick article, you can't get in a short video typically. Digging in deeper, going deeper is what I absolutely love about podcasting. I think it's the longest form we have right now of information where we can really dig in, maybe other than maybe documentaries on Netflix or things like that. But to me, it's so important to do this work, and I hope that you're taking to heart, what Joe was saying about AI, about how it can help your clients, about using things like Wiza to be able to go deeper. As I launch Great Lakes Online Counseling, this new project that I've been doing. The time of this recording, we're 9 weeks into it. Again, I'm only spending 2 hours a week building this group practice to do it publicly, to kind of go back to my roots. And there's lots of tools that I'm looking at and saying, like, what would it look like to use this or this? Now, Wise is on that list for me to dive in, investigate, and see if that's something that, as I publicly build this group practice, that I want to train my staff in and make sure that we are the most effective online counseling practice that I can build. So I hope that you go check it out. I hope you check out other things that are going to help you continue to get to that next level. It was just a couple episodes ago, back in 1356, Andy Crestodina talked about digital marketing, and he was talking about building your own GPT to think through how you talk as a therapist. This keeps coming in to so many of our conversations, and we're so excited to have you be a part of it. Also, we couldn't do this show without our sponsors. Thank you so much for letting us into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.